going on, everybody? Welcome to the Off Base Podcast, the podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one, because you're not. I am your host. I am the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass, and it's 50 degrees in the city of Aurora. It's 7:48 in the a.m. on March 3rd, 2022. Let's get the jaw going. Get the people going. No one knows what it means. It's provocative. What's it from? What's that from? Movie quote. Come on now. That's right. Will Ferrell. Blades of Glory. No one knows what it means, but it's provocative. Gets the people going. All right. More cowbell. I watched that recently. I think I showed my wife. I don't think she ever saw it. Fucking Christopher Walken, Will Ferrell. Did I say it was Friday? March 3rd? It's Thursday. Well, let's hit it, folks. Let's get going. So, I only dropped off one child this morning. Dropped off the stepson. And he's got band practice after school for his New York trip, so he won't be home until 8 o'clock, which means I'll be doing my fit test all by myself, doing the asylum fit test. Which is good, because when we do it together, we actually have to rewind the DVD, so I actually get more rest than I normally would if I was doing it by myself. So I'm looking to boost up the cardio activity. Although I have been watching a lot of videos online recently, particularly a guy by the name of Paul Ravella. I forget what the name of his channel is, but he is a bodybuilding coach, natural bodybuilding coach. And he has just been touting the benefits of walking in order to get cut, which I knew, I read before, long time ago, back when I did a year's worth of bodybuilding. And I'm not saying like I was ever in a competition. I'm just saying I wanted to get muscles and look good. And at the end of that year, the suggestion was exactly the same, which is you still go to the gym. You definitely don't work out as heavy as you did before, but you do about a half hour, 45 minutes on a treadmill of just walking. Now, what Paul Ravella was focusing on is not just a leisurely stroll, but, making sure that you're getting your heart rate up and starting to breathe a little bit heavier as you go. So it's just a matter of either increasing your speed or increasing your incline so that you're burning more calories per day than you are taking in. Steady state cardio. And I am certainly going to try that once stepson and I finish phase 4 here. Get to phase 4. That's not going to be until the beginning of May. We've got 2 more months of phase 3. But I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't anxious to get rid of my gut, because from my chest up is really starting to shape up nicely. And I know that I just have to have patience with it, because when the time does come, well, the top half of me is going to continue to look good, and it's just going to be a matter of shredding down the midsection. And abs are made in the kitchen, folks. Make no doubt about it. You can do all the workouts you want, but if you are not eating correctly, the correct number of calories and macronutrients, well, you're not going to lose fat. It's just the way it goes. So, speaking of food, I think it was on last Saturday or last Sunday. I was scrolling through, it's Saturday morning, and I was just scrolling through trying to find something to watch before I had started the day, because I had time to chill, And I found this series on HBO Max. I think it was called The History of Food. It was a 5-part series. And I watched the first episode, and it was fascinating. It really was, and I highly recommend it. I certainly want to watch the next 4 episodes. But the first episode focused on how we evolved to where we are now. Because at one point we were just monkeys, and then all of a sudden we were walking on 2 feet, and then all of a sudden, we changed into, not all of a sudden, I keep saying that, and then we changed into humans. So, the monkeys, like skull area, it's got a pretty big jaw, mouth area, big teeth, more teeth, and we don't have that. And they also, in the documentary, I don't know if it's a documentary, it's just informational, it was good stuff. In the film, I'll just call it the film, the history of food. They also talked about the differences between our digestive systems. Like a monkey's digestive system is much, much bigger than the human's digestive system. And they tried to explain that. And their explanation always kept coming back to, or tracing back to, the discovery of fire. And why is fire so important? Well, prior to that, what our diet consisted of, way back when we were in the Neanderthal stage, was basically, what do you want to call it? Like a herbivore-ish diet. Plants and seeds, fruits and vegetables, all that stuff. And of course, as you guys know, there's a lot of fiber in there. And monkeys, or gorillas, I think I remember watching one time, I'm no expert, I'm just, paraphrasing and trying to put numbers on it. They spend, what they say, like 4 or 5 hours a day just eating, because they have to get the calories that they need, which, I don't know, for like a silverback might be like, 4,000 or 5,000 calories. So they're eating 4 or 5 hours a day, chewing on that bamboo. And you ingest stuff like that, and your body has to break it down. It's got to pull the nutrients out, while getting rid of all that fiber, all the stuff that it doesn't need. So there's a lot of work going on down in the digestive system for primates. However, when the discovery of fire came along, and folks started finding out, just how good food tasted when it was cooked. Well, now it made hunting rather than eating berries and fruits, vegetables, whatnot, seeds. It made eating meat that much more delectable, as we all know nowadays. Just how delicious a good steak can be, or the different ways we can do chicken, rotisserie style chicken, chicken soup, fried chicken, whatever. So now all of a sudden, and one other thing too that I'll throw in here that they talked about was the size of the human brain, and how it's the largest brain relative to the rest of the body out of all animals that are on the planet right now. And so they go on to explain that. And here's the explanation that they gave. It made perfect sense, and it was just really cool to think about in this way. With the discovery of fire, and now your food tasting so much better. Well, obviously, there's not any fiber at all in meats. So when you're now ingesting meat, you're getting the calories that you need, but now your digestive system doesn't have to work as hard to break the food down, because it's not trying to break through all the fiber and get the nutrients that it needs. And as a result, as time goes on, now we're cooking more, we're eating less vegetation, eating more animals. Because the digestive system doesn't have to work as much, now all of a sudden it starts to shrink. It starts to get smaller. And then the one guy who was talking, he said, well, when you have a smaller digestive system and it's working much less during the day than the primates that, just say, for like I said before, for the average gorilla, it's eating 4 or 5 hours a day. Now for breakfast might take you 10 minutes to scarf down. Lunch might take you like a half hour, and dinner might take you 45 minutes. So, now we're eating anywhere between 1 hour and 2 hours a day, which is much, much less than what the primates did. So the one researcher, he said, when all of a sudden the amount of blood required to pump through the digestive system isn't needed anymore, he said, where's it going to go? And he said, it's going to go up, which now allowed us to use more of our brain capacity to think. And that's where, language came about, and then we just started to think about, certain concepts with regard to the sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, blah, blah, blah. Started to use our brains more in the capacity for thought and creativity and innovation, rather than using most of our resources in our body, our blood, to break down the food that we needed. And when they just went through and they presented that particular argument, I was like, holy shit, man. That is really fucking cool. How the discovery of fire really catapulted our evolution into human beings, into Homo sapiens. And for my 2 podcast listeners that are out there, you know that I talk a lot about nutrition and food and exercise on here. Hopefully someday, I'll dive into other subjects. I do love talking about finance, but that can tend to get a little bit controversial at times. So I try to shy away from that. Now, I had no problems talking about finance anywhere between, I don't know, let's say 3 to 13 years ago, like that 10-year span. No problem talking about it then. But now I'm just at the point where those that are in charge have screwed things up so much, there really isn't that much that we can do on a grassroots level except do our best to survive within the system that's been created by our central planners. And the main pivot point, I guess you could say, that caused all this, at least in my humble opinion, which isn't worth the tobacco that I put into my mouth, was when we were taken off the gold standard, because now all of a sudden we had nothing backing our money. The politicians could spend at will because they had nothing holding them to spending more money. So it's like, all right, fine. the large corporations and politicians are just, they're in each other's back pockets. So it's like, okay, well, I'll do the best I can with the system that you're setting up. And if you decide to change the rules on me, well, then that's where I'm going to get pissed. Is there anything I can actually do about it? At the larger scale? No. See, I'll stop right now. All I had to do was mention it, and now I'm starting to go off on it. I don't want to go off on it. I don't want to talk about finance. But I do talk a lot about nutrition, and I do talk a lot about exercise and health. Sleep as well. I got decent sleep last night. I got about 6.5 hours, which is fine. I definitely sucked at my sleep 2 nights ago because I fucking went down a YouTube rabbit hole. My wife went to bed a little bit earlier than the rest of us, and I was like, oh shit, I don't want to go in and wake her up, so I'll go on my computer. And I've talked about this before. If I want to change my patterns, then I got to change my behavior. And my typical pattern has been, if she goes to bed early, I get on my computer and wait until she's in a good deep sleep state, and then I'll go into bed so I don't wake her up. But what ends up happening with me is that I go down YouTube rabbit holes, and instead of going to bed at 10, maybe 10:30, 11 the latest, I'll go to bed at like 2 or 3. And I fucking did that 2 nights ago. It's fucking stupid. So I got to break that pattern. So 2 nights ago I got horrific sleep. Last night I was okay. We went to bed normal time, about 9 o'clock. I got up about 4:15, 4:30 today. So I got about 6.5. Anyway. Yeah, so sleep is something that I have to continue to work on, because that's what helps regulate everything else that's going on in the body, particularly the brain. Now, my diet has been really, really strong for, I'll say, the past 2 months. On the days that I work out, it's very rare that I'll drink that night, which I like. I did have 2 dark and stormies last night, and I don't know how I feel about that. Ooh, bunch of antelope, like 100 of them. Wow. Definitely on my second one, I was like, I don't want to drink this. But we were just hanging out at home watching the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. My stepdaughter's awesome, man. When we were in Texas, and she was like 10, 11 years old, she ended up getting into The Office, which, of course, then I started rewatching all the Office episodes. And now, like, over the past couple of weeks, she's starting to get into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And we watched a couple episodes of that last night. That show is great. Will Smith did more than any other American, in my humble opinion. Will Smith and the other actors on that show did more than any other American in the modern age for breaking down racial boundaries. And he never hits you over the head with it, man. The writing on that show and the way in which they portrayed the characters, they certainly maintained their blackness, because there's awesome cultural stuff that goes along with that. Just like there's awesome cultural stuff that goes along with any white person and their specific nationalities. Whether you're Italian, Irish, I'm Polish. There's certain traditions that we have as Polacks that we still maintain, ways of speaking, colloquialisms. All that stuff was maintained on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for black folk. But then the other thing that was so cool, but they never hit you over the head with it, and the way in which all the characters were portrayed, all the arcs that they had, was stuff that everybody was going through. It wasn't necessarily unique to black people. Very similar to what Bill Cosby did, but I think Cosby's was a little bit more. I think Cosby seemed like he was a little too white, for lack of a better term. Fresh Prince was a little more black, for lack of a better term. But anyway, yeah, he never really hits you over the head with the fact that we don't need to be what do I want to say? Not racist towards each other, because that word gets thrown around like water, but just discriminatory. We don't need to be discriminatory towards each other, because we're all in the same damn boat. So anyway, there's a little soliloquy on Will Smith and how much I have admired his career. Dude's phenomenal. So anyway, we watched a little bit of that last night, and I don't know if I should have had that second drink. I don't think I should have. But today, so to go back to how this thing started, I definitely got the stream of consciousness going on today. This started by me saying I only took one kid to school. That's because the 2 younger ones, for some reason, they have off today and tomorrow. So what I'm going to be doing for lunchtime today is the 3 of us. We're gonna take a nice walk. I'm gonna start to incorporate more walking into my day. This ties back to what I was saying about cardio. I want to start incorporating much more walking into my day, low impact, so that I'm burning more calories. I'm getting into the habit, getting used to it, and we're gonna walk over to the BX. We're gonna get ourselves some Subway for lunch, and it's gonna be awesome. So, hey, note to everybody out there, going back to the workout regimen. If you're going to do legs, and then the very next day do a Murph, in which on your runs you're doing sprints, and you're approximately 47 years old, or where I'm at. Be prepared to need recovery. And that's another reason why I was so pissed that I got 2 hours of sleep 2 nights ago, is because we had just got done doing the Murph, in which I was doing sprints, like for quarter of a mile. I would run on the treadmill at about 7 miles per hour for the first 0.15, and then for the last 0.1, I would sprint like 9 miles per hour. And hang on one second, I'm going to get scanned here.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Not much. You have an essay?
Thank you. So yeah, I really gave my legs a fucking whirlwind journey to recover on, and then I also did not give my legs enough opportunity to recover by getting the sleep that I needed. So I was pretty pissed off about that. I think that's probably why I was a little upset with myself that I took that second drink last night that I didn't need. But yeah, so diet's been going, actually, other than that, it's been going really, really good. I'm probably averaging somewhere around 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day, almost no carbs, approximately a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I weigh 190 pounds right now, so I'm probably consuming somewhere between 175 and 200 grams of protein every day, which is going to put me around 700 to 800 of my calories coming from that, and then the rest of my calories are coming from fat. The keto coffee is great on that. If I have 2 cups of keto coffee with a tablespoon of butter and coconut oil in each one, that's going to give me 450 calories right there. Such an easy way to get the energy that you need to get through the day. And then, when we get to phase 4, and I don't need as much, actually, the recommendation from Paul Ravella, who I was talking about before, was to stay. He said to eat as many grams of protein as what your target weight is. So I'm 190, and it's not going to happen overnight. I would love at some point to get back down to my high school weight, as most people do, but that's when my body was tightest, and that's going to be approximately 165 to 170 pounds. So once phase 4 starts, I think I'm going to target my protein to be about 150, 160. And then up the cardio, so that I am putting out more calories than I am taking in. All right, that's the final turn, everybody. Thanks for listening again. I hope everybody has a great Thursday out there, and do your best to forget the rest. Tony Horton. I'll smell you tomorrow.